Givenchy, Wikipedia audio. Givenchy is a French luxury fashion and perfume house. It hosts the brand of haute couture clothing, accessories, and parfums Givenchy, perfumes and cosmetics. The House of Givenchy was founded in 1952 by designer Hubert de Givenchy and is a member of Chambre syndicale de la haute couture et du prêt-à-porter. It is owned by luxury conglomerate LVMH. Its current artistic director is Claire Waite-Keller. In 1952, Hubert de Givenchy founded his own luxury house and launched a new collection Les Separables with some floaty skirts and puffy blouses made from raw cotton. Givenchy achieved critical acclaim with Vogue magazine praising his wonderful first collection 14. The collection included the Bettina blouse, a white shirt named in honor of Bettina Graziani, which was then painted in one of René Gruau's works. History. The New York Times Magazine published an article entitled A Star is Born, and L'Album du Figaro also wrote a feature stating that in one night, Hubert de Givenchy became one of fashion's most famous children with his first collection. Famous models such as Susie Parker, Ivy Nicholson, and Dorian Lee became muses of the house. In terms of innovation, he used shirting, a raw cotton similar to pattern paper, to create his chic and casual collections. In 1954, Hubert de Givenchy presented the first shirt dress. He was the first high-fashion designer to create a luxury ready-to-wear clothing line, called Givenchy University, which was produced in Paris using machinery imported from the United States. Before he was able to sign for this new collection, Hubert de Givenchy bought all the shares of his fashion house back from Louis Fontaine. In 1956, both Cristobal Balenciaga and Hubert de Givenchy presented their collection in New York during a charity gala in aid of the American Hospital in Paris. In 1957, the House of Balenciaga introduced the sack dress for the first time. In 1958, Cristobal Balenciaga launched the baby doll line, along with the coats line Ballon. The Givenchy studio moved to No. 3, Avenue George V in Paris opposite Balenciaga's in 1959. The same year, Givenchy and Balenciaga announced that their respective collections would be shown to the press 1 month after their presentation to the buyers, in order to avoid any dictate. In 1969, Hubert de Givenchy launched his fashion line for men, Gentleman Givenchy. The boutique was opened in November on Avenue George V. Hubert de Givenchy later introduced short dress. On the advice of Cristobal Balenciaga, Givenchy developed his licenses in the 70s, in order to protect the heart of the fashion house, the haute couture collections. In 1971, he designed a collection of embroidered coats in honor of Georges Braque and Joan Miro. Formation and first years. During this period, the House of Givenchy diversified its activities to create shoes, jewelry, ties, tableware, upholstery, and kimonos. Hubert de Givenchy was chosen to design the interior of Hilton hotels around the world, and even a car. In 1976, Givenchy Incorporated arrived on New York's Fifth Avenue. Later, Hubert de Givenchy was elected the Personality of the Year 1979 and the Most Elegant Man of the Year by the Best magazine. In 1982, a retrospective presided by Audrey Hepburn was organized by the Fashion Institute of Technology of New York. Next year Hubert de Givenchy is named Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur, and in 1985, Jacques Lang, the French Minister of the Culture, gave him the Oscar dedicated to the art of elegance during a celebration at the Opera in Paris. In 1988, Givenchy joined LVMH Mode Hennessy Louis Vuitton. Few years later, in 1991, a retrospective celebrated at the Galliera Palace the 40 years of the fashion house. Hubert de Givenchy left the company in 1995. He was succeeded by some British young creators such as John Galliano, Alexander McQueen, and Julian MacDonald. From December 2003 to 2006, the British cutter Oswald Boateng is named as the artistic director of the Givenchy men's division. The 50s, the relationship between Cristobal Balenciaga and Hubert de Givenchy. The 70s, a rapidly expanding luxury fashion house. John Galliano succeeded Givenchy upon his retirement but was in turn promoted to Christian Dior less than 2 years later, prompting the hiring of Alexander McQueen. In 2001, designer Julian MacDonald was appointed artistic director for the women's lines, which consist of haute couture and ready-to-wear. The 80s and the 90s, the LVMH era. The departure of Hubert de Givenchy. 1995–2005, women's wear. 2005–2017, Riccardo Tisci. 2017, Claire Waite-Keller. The reins for both collections were passed on to Riccardo Tisci in 2005 when he was named Artistic Director of Women's Wear. Riccardo Tisci has proposed to the house his own style and influences. By changing the house codes, Riccardo Tisci adds some dark and sensual romanticism touch. Extending the chromatic palette of the house, flashy colors, such as the baby blue and the red blood, metal, wildlife, and floral prints, he designs an uncluttered, structured, and graphic silhouette. Philippe Fortunato, the former chief operating of LVMH Mode Hennessy Vuitton SA China, is the current chief operating at Givenchy. Givenchy designs have been worn by a number of celebrities on red carpet occasions, including Rooney Mara at the 2012 Academy Awards. Also responsible for working with Madonna designing her costumes for her Sticky and Sweet tour as well as the 2012 Super Bowl halftime show. Givenchy, the icons, and the cinema. In 2016, Tisci launched a sportswear collaboration with Nike called Nike Lab XRT, training redefined aimed at Olympic athletes for the 2016 Summer Olympics as everyday gym users. In February 2017, Riccardo Tisci announced his amicable departure from Givenchy. The House of Givenchy announced the appointment of Claire Waite-Keller as artistic director, effective May 2, 2017. Claire Waite-Keller took on all creative responsibilities, including women's and men's ready-to-wear and accessories collections, as well as haute couture. The most famous ambassador of the brand was Audrey Hepburn in films such as Sabrina, How to Steal a Million, and Breakfast at Tiffany's. In 1953, Audrey Hepburn and Hubert de Givenchy met by the intermediary of Gladys de Siegenzack in a way to create her costumes in Sabrina by Billy Wilder. As Gladys de Siegenzack had organized the meeting with Miss Hepburn, the fashion designer thought that he was going to receive Katharine Hepburn. Dressed in a pink and white gingham privateer, a t-shirt and a gondolier hat, the British actress received some prototypes of the future collection. Audrey Hepburn decided to wear Givenchy clothes on and off the screen, such as in Sabrina, Love in the Afternoon, Funny Face, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Charade, Paris When It Sizzles, How to Steal a Million and Bloodline. Beginning as a client, she became the muse of the house for 40 years, in some most classical films. In 1961, Audrey Hepburn installed the reputation of the house by wearing the famous little black dress in Breakfast at Tiffany's. In 1957, Givenchy created a floral aldehyde fragrance, L'Interdit, for Miss Hepburn's sole use. His other famous patrons include Empress Farah Pahlavi, Gloria Guinness, and Morella Agnelli, as well as the Guinness, Grimaldi, Kennedy, and Rothschild families, who famously wore Givenchy clothes to the funeral of John F. Kennedy. Audrey Hepburn. Givenchy attracted many celebrities, including the likes of Lauren Bacall, Babe Paley, Michael Norman, Greta Garbo, Elizabeth Taylor, Marlene Dietrich, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, Beyoncé Knowles, Princess Grace of Monaco, and even Wallis Simpson, for whom he created some special garment bags, preserving the Duchess orders from the curiosity of clients. They would later become known as Blue Wallis. Today, Givenchy dresses the most famous Hollywood stars such as Cate Blanchett, Emma Stone, Julianne Moore, Julia Roberts, Rooney Mara. The company's operations are divided between: Europe accounts for 42% of the business, China 18%, Asia Pacific 14%, America 12%, the Middle East 7%, Japan 4%, and the rest of the world 3%. Celebrities. The Fall 2010 collection from Givenchy and Riccardo Tisci featured a transgender model for the first time. Lee T, a Brazilian formerly known as Leo Cerezo, was the designer's personal assistant for a number of years. About the decision, Tisci said, "She's always been very feminine, super fragile, very aristocratic. She is part of the family." Cinema. Operations. Ad campaigns.